Good evening and welcome to Nice Drop Report. We're back live tonight. We are reeling from last night's game, just talking about it before we came on. Adelaide United away 2-2 Auckland FC. Definitely the most exciting 20 minutes of Auckland FC's history, I would say. Keeps us right up at the top of the table. We were just talking about it before we came on then. We were discussing on whether we wanted a boring team who held and then won games, or an exciting. What were you saying, Matt? You Auckland are an oxymoron.
They're boring, but they're entertaining at the same time. They're a team of two halves, weren't they? I suppose the first half was dire. The second half was just all action, wasn't it? Action Jackson, yeah. So
you're right.
It's kind of,
you're right.
What do you want?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you like?
Ultimately, do you want ideal world? You want an entertaining team that wins, but ultimately. This is, I guess, the classic Jose Mourinho. Do you want a team that wins consistently 1-0, 2-0, 2-1?
Yeah.
Or do you want a 5-4 loss every week? I'd rather win, to be honest. Entertainment's just the byproduct.
Absolutely. We're getting results, and obviously lots of controversy, lots to talk about the Adelaide United game last night. We're going to get to that a little bit later. First up, we're going to go back to Saturday. And you'll see our visual viewers. We have Matt, the football freestyler here. Matt, or Mattinho Junior, as we christen you. How are you going, mate?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me again.
No worries. And there's a very
welcome
special
back,
reason.
Man.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here again.
There's a very special reason we've got Mattinho Junior back on tonight, and because of course Matt was running a bit of a social media campaign to get signed by Auckland FC. He's a freestyle footballer, and they did sign him. So let's ask Matt himself about it. So a week ago, 2 weeks ago, you came on this show. A week ago, we mentioned you again about how you were going and to get you signed. And then what happened was it Friday? The club got in touch with you?
Yes, it was on a Friday morning. So it has been 16 days of the challenge. And then on the 17th day, which was the Friday, they just sent me a message in the morning saying, "Oh, Matt, we love your videos. Would you like to come into the game tomorrow?" And then, of course, I accept the offer. From them straight away.
Awesome.
Done everything on the behind the scenes to get it sorted. I wish I had a little bit more of a longer notice because I've been practicing like the 16 days. I've been training so hard, and I was naked on that week. Like on the day before, I couldn't even practice at all. And then when they messaged me in the morning, I'm like, I can't say no to them. So I just rubbed quick deep heat on my legs and, just try to chill as much as I could to, recover my body and get ready for the show the next day. The idea was great. I'm very thankful for the chance. I just wish a couple of things were done differently, just to make me
had a bit more time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm very happy and very proud that I got the chance to do it. And that's exactly how I planned my challenge to be. I'm stoked to get the chance to perform in front of 14,000 people. So that was amazing.
And for those that weren't in the stadium, so at halftime, it was announced that Mattinho Junior would be coming on, and the challenge was 100 keepy ups, very basic keepy ups.
Yeah.
If you got 100, what was it, like 10% off the merch?
Yeah, 10% off merch.
Off the merch for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And I was saying before we came on air here, I reckon I could do 100 keepy ups. No drama at all. Might be a little bit of drama, but I reckon a couple of goes at 100 keepy ups. And most of it would be on my right foot, I have to say. But that sort of challenge for you would have been easy. Was there any nerves? Because the bar might have been a bit low for you, I guess, because you're normally on your bum swiveling around.
Yeah, that was pretty easy when they first messaged me saying that's the challenge. I was like, that's not very challenging for me, but I'll do it anyways if that's what they want. But I mean, yeah, there was no challenge at all to do that like in front of the people. Like it was just another day in the office for me. Like just a warm up or something.
I like that.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I like that.
yeah.
It's another day.
I've been promised a little bit more time than what they got me because I saw the footage. They promised me just over 4 minutes, but if I watched the video, there was about 2 minutes, and that was including the keep you happy, which took a whole minute. So I only had like 60 seconds to do all my freestyle tricks in there. So hopefully, if we get the chance to do on the next time, maybe we can get a little bit more of time.
What's the next? What's the next challenge? What should we set you as the next challenge then? Like,
I'm not sure yet. I've been thinking on this past couple of days. There's some Guinness World Records that I would like to beat, but I would need to practice specifically for those challenges. So yeah, that would take a little bit of time.
What about, don't they do that walk around the Sky Tower? Could you you can do like is it called the Sky Walk or something? When you go around
the Sky Walk,
you could keep, how many times could you go around there keeping the ball up or something?
I would love to do something like that.
Oh yeah, I've got to push.
That would be an actual challenge. Yeah,
I was going to say his last challenge was like, can you breathe for a minute? That was basically his last
time you're up
challenge.
the Sky Tower, mate. Yeah,
get up there. Yeah, but the Auckland shirt.
I think a football falling off from 360 odd meters might be a bit of a danger to the public down below. Maybe.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think you put some barricades.
Details.
Details. These are just minor little. These are things we can just iron out. They're just little bits we can sort out. Yeah.
But I'm open to anything. Like if Auckland wants to suggest, or if Auckland FC wants to suggest anything.
Yeah, what would be your preferred Guinness World Record that you would go for?
I saw one that I think I can beat. It's just the most consecutive around the walls. Just with a foot around the wall in 1 minute. The record is currently about 80. I think that's doable. If I practice for that specific challenge, I think that's something that I honestly can do.
Nice. Well, this is the latest call. Then let's get Mattinho Junior going for a world record inside Mount Smart Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Do it. Yeah, gotta do it.
That would be amazing.
He already had the kids asking for autographs as he came off, because I went down to see you in half time, and after you came off, and it was signing balls, and all that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Wow.
Felt like a football player for a good 5 minutes. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Not many get that. Yeah, not many get that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The kids are the ones that absolutely love the show. They love seeing freestyle tricks anyway. I'm sure they enjoy the show. Yeah, I'm very happy to perform for them.
It was
nice.
It was nice.
Well,
Go on, Robbie. Go on.
No, that was just I was going to make a very terrible joke in that someone actually came up to me and said, "Aren't you from the podcast?" So I can understand where you're coming from with the autograph thing. But no, there's just a couple of shout outs on the YouTube chat. Thank you for your comments. Ramon Costa, good work, Mateos. Woodward English, you could have kept going, but you got cut short. And Woodward's also suggested world record 100 shots of cachaça in a minute. I may have butchered that. I don't know. 100 shots or something.
It's just it's an alcoholic drink, very strong, like vodka. Yeah.
Oh, blimey. Doesn't
I don't think I was able
also,
to beat that record.
Michael Valdez. Yeah. Michael Valdez has given you a shout out, Dale, on the jersey that you're wearing. And he's also said we'll provide a Flamengo shirt for you if you want.
Lovely. Michael Valdez, do you know, I actually was Michael's English tutor about 5 years ago. So, and I told him about this podcast, and I said we might be getting some Brazilians on. So, welcome to the show, Michael.
There you go.
Good to see you.
Good on you, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Melbourne. Well, let's talk a little bit. Stay on for a little bit, Mattinho. We're going to have you talking about the Melbourne City game. You come on at half time, but we were already 3-0 up. I mean, it feels like because we've had another game, we've forgotten about that. But let's talk about that first half performance. I mean, for me, it was the most emphatic Auckland FC performance so far. What do you think, Robbie?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, going off my pessimistic pick last last week. I thought we'd draw at best, and then we got completely blown out. See, I told you to go the other way. I told you
I felt good. I had a good feeling.
Yeah, I was just surprised. I think even more so when Jake Brimmer was taken out of the squad, I was just, geez, this is going to be tough today. But ultimately, and we did kind of call for it in last week's show, we got that Mata Mai pairing up top. Yeah. And that looks awesome. Like you can see there seems to be a bit more cohesion up front. There's a bit more, I guess, identity on attack. Mata gives us so much presence as a big body, and he's that aerial threat as well. A couple of times against City and against Adelaide last night, you can see he's close to getting some like banging headers in. Just if he gets the delivery right, he's not far off at all. But then, I don't know, for some reason, with all those bodies out that we didn't have, it seemed to be a much better unit for some strange reason. But yeah, brilliant first half. Absolutely blown away.
I think the reason is Guillermo Mai is playing in his best position. Like that's what it looks like to me. I mean,
as a 10.
The goal is a 10. Yeah, the goal, of course, was a great goal, but just his link-up play is kind of is what you need. And we've all talked about playing the two up front. It's quite unusual to play two up front these days. Really. That
Yeah, it is. But it's also very much traditional Steve Corica kind of formation that he started out with, a 4-4-2, but a box midfield and then two up top. But maybe playing more in behind, so almost a 4-box midfield 1-1. But you get the sense like Mata could be that 9 that we're screaming out for. He just needs, he's got his goal. I think he's very close to actually being that regular, consistent goal scorer that Danny McBreen was calling for a couple of weeks ago. I think he could be that double-digit striker. He just needs to keep playing.
Yeah. He needs games. Matt McGann, what did you think of the Melbourne game?
Yeah, I think almost just echo what you said there. Yeah, I think it's really to add to it. Yeah, I think almost May playing at that number 10 almost takes the kind of the weight off his shoulders a little bit. He's not expected to score maybe the goals that everyone thinks he's going to get, but he's not going to get. It's almost the curse of the forward player, isn't it? You find yourself with a lot of teams that just have a lot of 10s. They have kind of wide players, but they have a lot of 10s playing and not really that number 9. But I think the May and Matt are playing a bit forward. The other point for me as well is that I think I'm just wondering how they're going to try and find a way of kind of almost playing May and Brimmer at the same time, because kind of Brimmer's almost occupied that kind of 10 role, that kind of floating-y role. But maybe it's a horses for courses, but I think you get a lot more out of. I think you're going to get a lot more out of May than you are probably Brimmer. I still think we're a little bit. I still think we could be a little bit more dynamic on the side, and I think maybe Brimmer could be particularly good. Maybe just maybe force him out a little bit that way, or I don't know, be a bit more fluid interchange. But no, it was. I mean, what a half of football! It just worked, didn't it? It just looked good. The back four looked good. Paulson didn't have a hell of a lot to do. The midfield bossed it, and May and Mata looks like the way forward, really.
Yeah, got his first goal. And Mattinho, did you even see the first half, or were you too nervous?
I missed most of it because I went to the tunnel just to warm up in there. But I got to see all the goals. Like the first goal from May, that was a beautiful, like perfect finish. I quite like the formation with Matt up front and May as a 10, like you said before. I think we really need that striker. On the previous games, we got crosses flying from every direction, no one in the box to actually score the goals. And I think Matt is that man. It's just a matter of time for him to be banging goals every game, I reckon.
Agree.
Yeah, it was really solid. And I mean, the second half, like you said, Matt, like sometimes this team's really boring, and I feel like we're boring at the right time, though. I mean, you're 3-0 up.
Yeah.
Just come out and just hold the second half. It's easy.
Yeah, those two games that we're going to talk about have almost crossed over. It was quite dynamic, and we were looking pretty threatening in the first half of the first game we're talking about, and then the second half, as it always does usually. When you usually score about 3 goals in the first half, the second half is often a bit of a damp squib. Unless the other team, comes back, to get an early goal and a bit of jeopardy gets thrown in. And then obviously on the second game, the first half, I mean, we'll talk about it. There wasn't really a hell of a lot to talk about, really. It was bit of a midfield battle, and that was about it. And then obviously, the whole game turned on its head. That's 20 minutes, wasn't it? Yeah, it was insane. Yeah, so it's right. Yeah, Auckland are they are a solid, really defensively sound team that don't give a lot away, and they try and get the odd goal. That's why the Adelaide game is so hard to try and break down. It's very
one of the
like
box,
that second half.
Yeah. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So Liam Gillian, I'm right. He was left out of the Melbourne City game, wasn't he? He was on the bench. What are our thoughts on Liam Gillian?
He came off the bench.
He came on the.
He came off the bench against City.
Yes,
because he blew that opportunity second half and was left out the other night.
That's right. Yeah. So he was on the bench against City. Didn't come on against Adelaide at all. What do we think's happening with young Liam? I mean, everyone had a lot of hopes for him. He's clearly exciting with the ball. We've all sort of sat and watched it. As people who aren't in this kind of league ourselves, but have said, look, he's not quite got that extra bit that he needs at the moment. Are we all? Well, how do we feel about Liam at the moment?
Yeah. You go.
Yeah.
Are you going to go, Rob?
Yeah, I'll go. It's a hard one on Liam, and as frustrating as it can be at times. And I would have been one of the many thousands who just went, "Oh, mate, why did you not pass the ball?" It's top 2 inches, and we keep forgetting that he's still very young professionally. I think he's 22, I believe. So there's undoubted talent there. You can see he's creative, he's fast, he can beat players. It's just that very last end product, that final decision making. Do I shoot or do I pass? And for whatever reason, he just keeps making the wrong choice when he needs to make. He keeps thinking, "Oh, I'll shoot." When, like against City, I'm going to shoot. When Moreno's quite clearly the option and it needed to go to him, or the other, he'll pass instead of taking the shot himself. It'll come with time. It's frustrating, 100% it is, but you do need to be patient with players like this. They're creative, and I think I said it last week, Tommy Smith, when he was talking about Max Mata. At least he's getting in position. I think the same applies for Liam here. Give him time. It'll come. Yeah. Don't just.
No, we're not.
He has to keep his confidence, and that's where I think the coaching and the players come in, become a really important part. We can't, basically start bringing the pitchforks to him because
absolutely,
he's creating.
Absolutely, but Steve Corica obviously made a decision to rest him, and then completely didn't even use him the other night. Is that? Matt McGann, what do you think about that? That he's made that call.
I think maybe it's just a bit kind of, let's take him out the firing line a little bit. We've seen what's happened at the end of that game, and he's, I don't know. I mean, kind of trying to guess here, but maybe he's got up to him and said, let's give a bit of a break. But I just think he's. I mean, what I really like him about him is I think he's really coachable. I think he understands what That's why I think Corica keeps on playing him. When you see a player that you think isn't doing so well but keeps on playing, it's usually somebody that's really good at understanding exactly what the manager expects of you. So I think he's a super coachable. I think he's an easily coachable player, and as Robbie said, it's almost like a striker, isn't it? You keep finding yourself in the right position, but you're not scoring the goals. But eventually, it's just going to come, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's always fine. He's always there, ready to take the ball. He's usually beating a man, or he's finding space, and he's getting there. I just think, I think something will click eventually. He'll make a pass, or he'll score a goal, and I think that'll maybe open the floodgates a little bit.
And the other thing to keep in mind as well is the short turnarounds. We're going from Saturday in Auckland to Wednesday in Adelaide to then Sunday against the Wanderers. I think Gillian will be involved in the squad on Sunday. So I think there's a bit of rotation to be considered as well.
I think
Brimmer's not played much either the last few games, so he might be coming back fresh as well.
Yeah, I think you got as far.
Yeah, I can't remember how long he. Yeah.
Is he injured, Brimmer, or he's just?
Yeah, it was a hamstring.
Yeah, rush that. Yeah.
Mattinho, Liam Gillian, good player.
Good player. Love watching him so fast on the wings. I'll defend him. I think a lot of the times that he took that extra second to make his decision, like he's so fast, he gets to the end of the pitch. He looks in the box, there's no one there. And that's what we talked before, that we need Mata to be that striker, to be in the box. And I think that's also a reason why Gillian takes that extra second to make his decision. Like, do I cross? There's no one in the box. Do I shoot? And then that's when he ends up losing the ball or making poor choices.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure he'll come right, and he needs to sort of just get his head down, or not literally, but needs to get his head down and work, and find solutions. But I'm sure there's plenty of games to come. Hey, look, the other thing I want to talk about before we let Mattinho go here is the sort of the match day experience down at the ground. I mean, we talk to everyone about this that comes down. Where do you normally sit if you go down, Matt? Are you up the port end, or are you somewhere else?
I'm usually at the port end on the south stand, not on the actual Bay 22 with them. I just sit right next to them.
You might be good to talk about this, and English not your first language as well, because I want to talk a little bit about football chants and songs inside a ground, and only because I go to the game, so I hear what goes on, and I'm part of it, and then I follow social media. And there seems to be a little bit of, we all know we've got this bunch of people standing right in behind the goal in the port. And then we've got two strips the other side who sit down for the whole game. They sort of, and there's some people that want to be standing and some people don't. Yeah. But then there's the songs, right? And my question to you guys is, what do we think makes a great football chant? Like what's it like in Brazil, Mattinho? What makes a great football chant? What are the elements of it,
needs to be very catchy. That's the first thing. So you can get the whole crowd to sing together. I guess you need to be very loud with the drums and the instruments of that. I think we only have like one set of drums on the port. That would be good if we get some more drummers to help with the noise. I think, and basically just, give a piece of paper for everybody with the song lyrics so everyone knows.
Do you think it needs to be like? Do you think it should be like that? Because we've got this kind of situation. We've got a couple of guys with megaphones trying to tell people what the words are to these slightly. I'll be honest, and I full credit to the port and what they do, but some of them are slightly difficult to follow. And I think what's happening is people in other sides or other parts of the ground can't follow these songs, and there's a little bit of a disconnect. So this is why I want to sort of get to the nuts of. I mean, I personally think we haven't found our iconic song yet, because until the whole stadium, in my eyes, are singing a song, then we haven't found it yet. There hasn't been one that's kind of like moved around yet. Matt McGann, what makes a great football chant?
Oh man, yeah. I've just been trying to think. I'm just thinking that there's two that we have in my football team. I mean, one is just a really old song that my football team adopted years and years and years ago, and it's just stuck. And that's it. They continue to play it. And if you don't know the song, then you can't really call yourself a blues fan. But we do have another one that's kind of. I think it's good because it's short, it's punchy, it's funny. It's kind of humor. It's making fun of the opposition. But if it got sung to you, you'd find it funny. You go, "Oh, that's quite a funny song." It's not, it's not mean.
It's not nasty. Not nasty or mean.
Not nasty.
Yes.
No, it's funny. And when you hear the words and you find out, maybe I'll post it one day because it's quite a funny song.
Post it.
And it's just silly. It doesn't really it makes sense, but it doesn't make any sense if that makes any sense. But it's just caught on, and it's just such a good one. And it's one that we sang years and years ago, and it actually doesn't even make any sense to what we're doing at the moment, really. But it continues to be, and people laugh. People laugh when it starts. Yeah, it just sticks, and I think that. it's organic. I suppose it isn't pushed. It's just something that's kind of. Oh, I like it.
What I wrote for my notes is I wrote organic, funny, taking the piss, doesn't have to be nasty, back and forth, picking up on something that happens, and it's kind of that what. Yeah. I mean, Robbie, you're obviously more of an A-League bod than us. I imagine the teams have found these songs because they've been going a while, a lot of them, right?
Yeah, I think that they have. I mean, just trying to think of some of the other. Oh, sorry, my daughter's going to bed, so I'm going to say, no. No.
Oh, look at that.
Sorry.
It was like a celebration, like when they run.
Yeah.
Don't do an Elon Musk on us.
No, that's right.
No, I won't do that.
I don't do it.
I love the topic of
it. So just trying to think back to some of the A-League teams chants. It's you say I'm an A-League bod, but I can't actually. I've just gone blank on them.
I mean, I guess you don't go to the games. You're sort of working in the games, so maybe you haven't picked up on them. But
yeah. I mean, there's the call and response ones are a big one. I know that the RBB for Western Sydney Wanderers, and we might even see it this Sunday as well. They've got the RBB sat behind one end of the goal, one end of the pitch, and they'll do a call and response chant to the other sections of the stadium. Who do you sing for? We sing for Wanderers. Do their dance, and they do the same to basically every direction, which is great. And it looks amazing when it's it's a full house. Even at a Sydney derby, they'll have that. Sydney FC have their own version of that. That's a pretty basic one, but it's still it looks and sounds amazing because you get the buy-in from everyone else.
Organic is the key.
I mean, if the Port,
it's got to be organic.
Yeah, that's the one.
And I think some of these songs from the Port have been written. I can tell they've been written before they go to the game. So they're not organic. And I again, no criticism of the Port. I love going in there and it's great. But I think we're yet to find our catchy thing. Like you say, it goes right around the ground, and because it's easy to sing. There's got to be a little bit of funny or a bit of humor or a bit of nuance to it.
I think hopefully they'll find something. There's also things like I think it's called. Is it the Poznan? Where they turn around and they.
But that's a Man City thing, isn't it?
But that's a Man City thing. But then you've also got, the Icelandics when they were doing one of the Euros, they were doing the slow clap? Above the heads.
The Viking clap.
They would start the Viking clap. So I think it's something like that. Hopefully they'll find. I mean, it would be pretty difficult, but just
the Port did the Poznan. They did the Poznan. They've done it a couple of times. Yeah, and again, that's not our thing, though. I feel like we're still to find our thing.
It could be something like that, yeah. I mean, Dortmund have just like the yellow wall. They'll do things in there that just look super impressive. So, like I said, it's got to be organic. Hopefully, something just picks
something
up.
like that.
I think it will. Yeah.
And by the way, the Poznan is not a Man City thing. It's from Poznan, a team from Poland.
But Man
Poland,
City.
That's where they got it. That's where City got it from.
You're right.
Yeah, sure. So they've adopted it. Yeah.
It's a Poznan.
Stole it.
They've adopted it, so it's not their thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I saw something online. The reason we did it against Melbourne is because of the Man City link. Someone proffered up.
Okay.
We're pissing all over them 3-0. So we
That's quite cool.
Like that was
which is what we did to Wellington when we were up in the last 10 minutes. Is we took our tops off and started waving it around, which is a Wellington thing.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. Well, now I've been doing some gym work for the last month. I'll be able to do that. The other thing that happened, which you Mattinho might remember, was the shoes in the air. Did you?
Yeah, they done that on the last game.
Yeah. So what happened? And I was late because my lift was late getting me and the girls to the ground, so we weren't in the standing Port section. We were in one of the speaking bits next door. And we look over, and all the guys in the Port have got they've got their shoes off, and they're waving them in the air.
Yeah, I don't know how they start with that, but I think that's pretty funny. That's different to what the Wellington Phoenix fans do.
Yeah. Do we know the context though? Is it?
I have
original?
no clue. I think I've never seen any supporters do anything like that. So I think that's something that we created, maybe. Yeah.
It's the first time I've ever taken my shoes off at a game. That's for sure. and waved him,
100%.
in the air.
Yeah. I think it was the first time for
That's
everybody
brave.
there.
Yeah.
But I felt a little bit uncomfortable because I wasn't in the main gap, and they're all waving the shoes, and then I thought, well, I'm just going to stand up and wave my shoe back, you know, like hopefully other people in my bit will do it. No one else did it really, so I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, carry on.
Just me, just me, yeah.
Just me, is it? Of course, my 14-year-old's like, Dad, what are you doing, bro? Anyway, a lot of fun was had. Melbourne City, 3-0. Great result. And so we'll let's move on. Let's move on to the Adelaide game. Last night, you know, it was actually, I think this is the first time we've had two in a week to watch. I can't remember watching 2 in a week before, so that's cool to have a midweek game. Enjoyed the midweek game. Yeah, what a game! Like, I mean, like we said at the top, it was pretty quiet. Pretty quiet first half, pretty boring first half. But I mean, we're away from home, and then the game sort of burst into life really in the 63rd minute, 64th minute, and our Moreno scores, and VAR. So obviously watching at home is so different, and the VAR, flagged it, and as soon as we saw the first replay, we're like, oh, it's a handball. You know, Moreno's handballed this. And the VAR, and it took them a long time, and we all assume it's going to be disallowed. And then they show a different angle, and you can tell it's the other guy, you know, that handballs it. It's kind of, and I sat there at that moment. I thought, actually, it's quite lucky we've got VAR, because being a referee in the olden days, like a few years ago, like how would you ever have caught that correctly? You know, so thoughts on that first kind of VAR situation?
No.
You know, Rob.
Oh, Matt, you can go if you want.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually watching the replay, and I was kind of doing a bit of work and also watching it on the TV at the same time. I must admit, when I actually first saw it, I actually saw it for what it was. I actually thought that it did just look like the ball had bounced down. It hit the Adelaide player, and Moreno had just smashed it in. I actually, when I saw it, and then they always replay the goal straight away, maybe just before VAR. I looked at it again and went, yeah, that seems a perfectly good goal. So I was actually quite surprised what they were checking. I actually thought at first they were maybe checking if he was offside or something like that, because I think it was quite tight, wasn't it, when the ball got played? I thought they were trying to figure out if the ball had kind of bounced off that person first and then he was onside or not offside or something. So I actually didn't pick that up at first. But yeah, from eyeballing it for the first time, I just thought it looked like a perfectly good goal. Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Same. That was the same for me. Like I kind of saw that and went, "Why are they checking this? This isn't." Moreno didn't handball this, but yeah, it did seem pointless in the end. But VAR did its job. Maybe could have been done a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
It did do its job. Well, it did do its job on that occasion. That's what I mean. I actually watched it and was like, wow, it works. You know, like, you know, we can see who handballs it. You know, I don't know whether it would have been fair to give it, you know, disallow it, because I don't know if a ball. What is the rules if a ball smashes you in the hand in that sort of situation? Do they have to give it?
Yeah. I always.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if I'm going to referee, I mean, if I ever was given the opportunity to referee a football game, God forbid, but if I did, it wouldn't be there'd be a lot of tackles that would be let go. Yeah, it's fair. Play on. There'd be a lot of play-ons. Play on. Just play on. But I think for me, I've always just played ball to hand. You know, if you can clearly see when a ball has been smashed against someone's hand, or when a hand has gone towards the ball to change the direction of the flight. So that's how I see it. You know, I don't know how you can help a ball just bouncing off two people, hitting the ground, coming up and hitting you in the finger, and calling that handball. It just seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah,
so that's how I play it.
That's what I mean. It shouldn't have really mattered, but look, it was a good decision, and he took the goal really well. It's like we always say, he hit it hard and low, and he really did hit through it, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Mattinho, did you enjoy that?
Great finish, yeah.
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
sub.
Moreno literally just played for like 30 seconds. He just entered the game, and then they
Did
banged that goal. But watching from the TV, I also thought it was a handball from him. I was 100% sure they would disallow
Well, the
the
first
goal.
replay, I was sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
when
don't
they
know
showed the
live.
camera like behind the goal, then it was clear it bounced on the defender's hand. And
Yeah.
Moreno was very,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
fortunate to hit that ball.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, we're gonna sub you off, Mattinho Junior. We've actually got an Adelaide United supporter to come on and help us talk through this part of the show. So I hope you don't mind, but we've loved having you back on. So thank you very much for coming on. Nice drop
No,
report
thank
again,
you.
mate. Yeah, and
I'll keep you guys updated on the next challenge.
keep us updated. Let's go for the Guinness
Yeah.
World Record next time.
Yeah,
mate.
please do.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll
See ya.
keep pushing
See you,
that.
bro. See you.
Awesome job, bro.
Good on you, man. Yeah.
Alrighty, okay. As advertised, we have Adelaide United supporter Ellis. Welcome, mate.
Yeah, great to be with you guys. How are we?
We're feeling
Good.
very chipper, I think, after last night. You know, like
Yeah,
it could
not too bad.
I wrote down in my notes that it was a 3-pointer in the end because where the tables have finished because of that last
Yeah.
minute goal. You know, instead
Yeah.
of being 4 points behind, we're only 1 point behind you. So it was a kind of 3-pointer in the end. That goal, eh?
Yeah, no, look, it was a very interesting score. To be honest with you, I felt that Auckland were pretty hard done by in the end. I think you did enough to win the game. And it's not so much a case that you'd be disappointed in the end because you were the away side. But I actually felt for Adelaide United's sake that, they've tried to reinforce this idea that they're really wearing their big boy pants this year. And I feel as though it was an opportunity that they let slip last night, particularly given how late they scored their second. A massive credit to you guys getting a point out of that game, Steve Corica, and the players will be very happy with that, knowing that you've come out of Cooper Stadium, which not many teams have this season with a result. So a huge credit to you guys. It has been a fairy tale inaugural season for the club, obviously.
Yeah. Well, we're the two good boys of the league, aren't we? You know, we're the two that are doing well. You know, we should all be chipper with ourselves.
No, most definitely. I mean, I've been a huge A-League fan since the very beginning, and I recall the disaster that was the Knights, and then the sort of optimism. Very much being embraced by most Australian supporters when Wellington came in, but still you'd have to say that the Knicks haven't really delivered as far as trophies and silverware goes. So you guys are in a very good position to make amends for that very early on in the piece. So you'd be very happy as Auckland fans knowing how disastrous version 1 went for an Auckland team, and you guys are now certainly. I mean, it's been the story of the season, hasn't it? Really, metric-wise and narrative-wise, it was quite flat going into this season outside of the Auckland bubble. So you guys would be absolutely thrilled with life.
Are you guys all getting that feeling that Auckland are kind of like, have really pepped everything up? Without Auckland, it would have been a different season this year.
I think that the New Zealand derby has been a long time in the making. I've been for the part of the last 5 years, and certainly as soon as I saw Western United and the MacArthur products, I was really asking the question as to why it wasn't happening.
Nice. And I tell you what, I liked hearing was that there were 13,000 in there for the game against Auckland last night, and I believe 15,000 for the original rivalry game. Yep, on the weekend. Yep. I mean that's kind of the numbers we're getting over here for games, but is that usual for you guys to get those sort of numbers in that ground? It looks like a lovely little football ground, by the way.
It is. I can actually tell you we had a big event. So for those that are unaware, Greece back in 2004 won the European Championship, and we had 3 of the integral players from that team come to Hindmarsh Stadium, Cooper Stadium, for a corporate event. And all 3 of them, the first thing they did was emphasise how impressed they were by the stadium. Now, these are guys that have played Champions League, won a European Championship, but obviously, in Greece and Italy, you've got a 100-year-old stadium. So they were, boasting about how impressed they were about how good the corporate facilities were and the stadium as well. Does it pack out, you ask? Not to that extent normally, but the club has quite strategically shifted the marketing focus to more of a family type of, we've got the regulars, we've got the Red Army, we've got the rusted on fans. Let's get those families in, because those are the ones that are really going to strategy has for whatever reason they want to get out of Cooper Stadium in 15 years' time, my understanding is, and move into that needs to happen. I have no idea, because the CBD, you guys probably get a feel for this when you do eventually make the Adelaide trip, but our CBD from Cooper Stadium is about a 5-minute drive, so it just beggars why you would leave only purpose-built ground.
Sounds
in the
lovely.
country
Yeah.
that, but
Making sense.
Yeah, Mount Smart's
it's a great ground.
Mount Smart's a bit more than a 5-minute drive from the CBD in Auckland.
Yeah.
Credit to the Auckland fans last night, by the way, for making the trip as well. Nice to see a pocket of fans. You don't often get that from the non-Eastern States teams, so very impressive.
I wonder if they were travellers or whether they were Kiwis who live in Adelaide potentially.
Possibly. But I mean, it's impressive, by the way, because if you've already got that kind of footprint half a season into being a club, then kudos to you guys.
Yeah, nice. Well, we were just before you come on, we were just dissecting the game, really. Like we say, pretty quiet first half. We get our noses in front. I was talking about VAR and how it worked for once with the handball, and then the Adelaide goal situation. To pull or not to pull on the shirt, and we sort of. Jesus, they took a long time to watch it as well and make the decision. Let's go round the. How do people feel? Ellis, how did you feel about that decision?
I was incensed. I actually, I hate football decisions that ruin games, and for me, this clearly was one. It was a clear foul in my view. You can see the shirt actually clearly move in the direction of the pull. That is enough to constitute a foul. Why there's even conjecture about it, I have no idea. If you feel as though if there wasn't so much momentum in that particular event, that if it was just one of those ones where Yaya Dukali had managed to step over someone in midfield and then drag it back and look for a pass, they probably would have pulled it up for a foul. So it's really it beggars belief to me how that was allowed to how the play was allowed to continue in that event. And then with VAR on top, I've always had an issue with the VAR, how it's actually utilised in this country. I feel as though it could be done so much more smoothly. I know VAR in general has all kinds of criticisms that go along with it, but for me, that decision last night was really, really harsh on you guys. I thought it was a clear foul.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the question. Before we move on, here's a question. Coming to Rob next, but here's a question from Woodward English. Why did the ref cover his mouth while reviewing?
I wondered that.
Robbie, any idea why that was going on?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of things off the top of my head. I don't know is the short answer, but I would imagine, given the noise of the stadium, given where actually the positioning of the monitor was a strange one as well, because it's usually closer to the pitch side, but it seemed to be further down the tunnel. So whether that kind of reverberation meant he's just kind of covering his mouth to talk into the mic clearer, so it's easier for them to hear. Usually in those situations, you get, in terms of broadcast, the sideline reporter's kind of there. Sometimes they can kind of just sort of lean over and listen in. Maybe he's just hiding it. There's the classic lip reading thing. I don't know. I mean, why would you even bother?
Because we're supposed to hear his decision, but we're not supposed to hear the chat before. Is that right?
Correct. Not the back and forth, and we're not really meant to. Well, we're not really meant to see the monitor itself. We can show it on the broadcast. Like we can actually take VAR's what they have on their monitors. We can put that to air.
Right.
So we can see that, but yeah, we're only meant to hear the end final decision.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you make, Robbie, of the decision?
Oh, ridiculous. I mean, for the ref to say not enough force. The big issue I have with that is they never checked it at full speed. They only ever showed the slower motion replay, where you could quite, like, as Ellis said, you could quite clearly see Yaya Dakuli had a full fistful of jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, the Adelaide attacker starts behind Callan Elliott, and then he ends up in front of him, and that's not a foul. I mean, it was just mind-boggling how they came to that decision. And I'll throw the question out to the group. In that situation, where it becomes basically referee's interpretation, he says, not enough force, not convinced there's enough force to draw a foul. Do you then put an ex-professional player in with VAR to kind of be the voice of reason and go, that's clearly a foul?
Yeah, it's not about, it wasn't about, it was about the speed that Elliott's traveling at, so, and the rip away is easily enough to knock him, and if it had been in the penalty,
but we never saw that at full speed. That's the big issue for me.
Yeah. It was it was a wild decision, really. There was a lot of pushback on social media around it. Our end, Alice, as you can imagine. I read a quote someone put on the Facebook, and it was about if you're a boxer and you're going to Italy to fight an Italian boxer, you have to knock. The old saying was you have to knock him out to get a draw.
Yeah.
And he said, and the poster said it's the same as New Zealand teams going to Australia. Any truth in this? Anyone think we're going to get a hard time over there from Aussie refs? Can this be true?
Well, if you remember back to the Knicks in 2012 with Andy Durante, I think it was from memory, one of the craziest decisions you've ever seen at Cooper Stadium involved Andy Durante. So you guys can always at least hang your hats on the fact that you guys will never be that unlucky and that hard done by. Go back and look at that game, 2012, Adelaide United, I think it was 2-1 in the end against Wellington Phoenix. That's a clear example of how, I'm not going to use the word bias, but would I agree that you guys get the short end of the stick when the referees in Australia? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And I guess we just got to suck it up. Matt, quickly to you, the penalty,
the incident.
The incident,
yeah. I mean, I thought the bit that really stood out was that you usually have those moments where, because I think someone there in the comments said the guy was fast. And I think the guy right back would have known he was pretty quick. But usually those situations look a bit dodgy where the person gets pulled, then they run a little bit, and then they go over. It's like, oh, okay, I felt the pull, but I think I can still get there. Oh, I can't get there. I'll go over. But when the VAR was shown back to you, it was exactly the same. As soon as his shirt got pulled, he went backwards, and then he fell over. So, but and then the other quick one was that, as soon as it started to go on and on and on and on, it's a bit like the old cricket decision. When you think the longer it goes on, the more chance something weird's going to happen. Usually when they do the back and forth, and they run the tape back and forth. Exactly.
Back and forth.
You think, it's clear cut. There's no problem with it, and then they keep going back and forth, and what was that? What was this? And you're like, oh. Yeah, the more he looks at it, the more chance there's going to be something weird's going to come here. And I just thought it was just again what Robbie said. It didn't meet something like the threshold of the force for him to fall over. I mean, how could that ever be made? How could you ever interpret the force that the guy was pulled back? Doesn't make much sense to me.
Robbie?
Unmute myself. The other one I'll add to that is Callan Elliott didn't do the greatest job of selling it as a foul either. And you
should have just
don't necessarily want to go down that road. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like if he just kind of just stops, puts his hands up, and starts waving around, maybe he gets it. I mean, it's football intelligence, knowing how to win a foul.
Yeah, it is.
Grey area, yes, but I think it's something that all footballers learn. I remember a high school football coach doing a full hour session with the whole first 11 squad, how to win a foul and how to sell it, and we were teenagers.
Wow. So, dark arts. It's like the South American
dark arts. Yeah, it's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, sometimes they go down and they do a few rolls, don't they? Especially in the
Yeah, okay,
Premier League
that-
over in England too.
That's
Yeah.
overdoing it. But it's the things like, feeling push, you yell at the referee, sir, fall on the ball, grab the ball, so it's a handball,
Yeah.
or it's a foul. So make the ref make a decision. Something, it's things like that.
I've always said you can draw a clear line through Europe when it comes to how football players interpret a foul. So you've got like the UK, the Scandinavians, the Germans. They're not too bad. Even the French are not so bad, but you just dip a little bit lower. You go into your Spain and your Portugals and your Italies. Yikes, here we go. This is where we start to, that's where the line really gets. You can draw a straight line straight.
Would you agree with that, Ellis? You sound like you're definitely of Greek heritage there.
I didn't mention Greece, but they're down there.
What I was actually gonna say is that unfortunately, controversially, you guys don't have the privilege of being in Asia, and I still think that's a massive problem and something that needs to be rectified one day. But we want it both ways, don't we? Like we criticize the diving culture, but then I can only think of so many different examples of being in the Asian Champions League. The amount of cart rolls that I've seen at that ground, it's enough to make a man go grey in his early 30s. And it's rife. It's certainly rife in Asia as well. Don't forget about Asia. But us here on the other side of the continent, we all sort of bemoan the diving culture, but then we sort of want to implore it when it doesn't suit us at the same time. I think it is necessary. It is a part of the game. So much of the adjudication runs on soft fouls, but if it's a foul by the letter of the law, then by all means milk it. I think that's just the way the game is. So
and I'll further add to that point. There was a classic situation of that in the recent World Cup qualifiers, the Socceroos, when Bahrain played them. I think it was on the Gold Coast, in Australia anyway. The dullest game of football ever. Bahrain squeaks a win at the end, jams a goal. But watching that, I could do nothing but applaud Bahrain's tactics because they absolutely frustrated the hell out of Australia. The time wasting, the rolling around, all of that jazz. They played it to absolute perfection, and they got a result. Everyone complained about it in Australia. There's a small pocket of people like myself. I'll throw myself in there. I thought it was brilliant because it got a result.
You three would say that beating Bahrain in a crucial qualifier isn't for everyone, right?
Exactly.
I
was there that night in the cake tin. Marvelous. You had done
Don't
it
you
as well.
go out to Bahrain?
Beautiful night. That's right. And well, of course, New Zealand a bit the World Cup again this year. Fingers crossed. Some slightly easier games this year, but
touch wood.
We don't have to touch wood. We've got wood. Chris Wood.
Hey.
You wonder where I was going with that, eh?
If Chris Wood could, Chris Wood would.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Quite the flex as well, taking your reserves to the Oceania Cup, might I add. I know that the level of opposition is not that great, but to do that still is impressive and win the tournament without breaking out of a first or second gear, really. So I'd be optimistic.
Yep.
I say to my friends all the time, there are, I can't sit here comfortably and say that I prefer the Socceroos team these days anymore. So, if we're comparing both 11s, so I realise I've probably taken up.
Come support the All Whites, mate. Come support.
I've got mad respect for New Zealand. I really do.
Good stuff. Hey, let's get back to this game yesterday. So we're sort of like pulling it apart. We had the big controversy with the VAR. Archie Goodwin looks a good player.
He does.
He looks like he can score a goal. How many has he got?
Great player.
Year?
I think he's scored now 11 from memory.
Wow.
So
he's third in the Golden Boot.
Yeah, it might be
third in the Golden Boot at the moment. I think it's 7. Yeah,
7. Yeah,
he's good. Yeah, he's good.
7 goals.
Well, with a last name like that, you kind of have to be right if you're playing for Adelaide United. So it came in with a fair bit of pressure on him.
That's right. So he took his goals really well. It looked like Adelaide had done a number on us and got the result. Would you ever have expected a 100th minute equaliser from this team? That's the question. And my answer is yes, I do. Because I've seen this team several times stay in until the end. And I think we've talked about this with a few of our guests come on. and they've got the fitness, this Auckland team, to keep going. They've got the desire to keep going. Yeah, well, let's put it out. Matt, were you surprised to see us get that last minute winner, knowing what we know about this team? Oh, sorry, not winner. Equaliser.
Yeah, equaliser. It felt like a winner. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you make some good points. That's right. I think Auckland FC are a really, really fit team. They just keep, and for a team that's so, in its infancy, to have that, don't give up attitude. They keep on pushing. It could have so been it. You could see when the corner was being taken. I don't know, every team has an impetus to try and get back in, but I mean, the defending was a bit suspect. I mean, to be able to put the ball, to put the ball where it was. I mean, to be fair,
free header. Really?
Yeah, it actually looked like the ball just hit him on the head and just went into the net. That's what when I first saw.
He gave it a bit.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, when I looked at the replay, he did actually give it some, but it actually looked like he was just standing there. It's that one where the ball just misses beats the first man. You're not expecting it to make it, hits you on the right side of the head, and bang straight into the corner. But no, fair play. They've, like I said, they've done it before. They've scored goals after the 90th minute. Why should that equaliser come as a surprise? It's tough. It's tough to get a goal anytime after the 90th minute. But let's keep on doing it. Fair play to them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what Terry McFlynn, who's our director of football, we interviewed him a few weeks ago, Alison. He said that this is what they want from this team, that they keep going to the final dying embers of the game, and they've done it a few times for us. But from your perspective, disappointed with the conceding that late goal?
Disappointed, of course, but not surprised, because it was almost a carbon copy of the Sydney FC game a few weeks back. I think just before the new year at Cooper's Stadium, where Adelaide United should have put them away quite comfortably. I think it was 3-3 in the end. Off a corner, goal off a corner, free header from almost the exact same range. So Adelaide United have that in their DNA this season, unfortunately for them. So I was not surprised. But in terms of the actual amount of time added on, have we actually understood why that was in the end? Because I know that a lot of questions being asked about it.
The VAR faffing around, potentially? I mean, we were watching that for like 8 minutes. I mean...
Yeah. I mean...
They'd have to add it on.
Has it got to be something to do with the... when a team scores in the 90-plus minute, they do take... They all celebrate, don't they? They all run to the corner. They all kind of stand there for a while.
Might be a bit of that.
Was there 2-3 minutes worth in that? I don't know. Yeah, that's the only thing
it's. I mean, you bring the point up, but it's not unusual to see a game go to 100 minutes these days. Like it used to be unheard of.
Yeah,
unheard of. But the last few years, not that unheard of.
The 2022 World Cup happened.
Yeah, that's it. That was I was just thinking there was a World Cup or the Euros where every game, hardly no game finished under the 99th minute.
Well, was that the first game? Was that the first tournament we had VAR for? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's the one that it felt for me.
It was the first tournament where they just started being really generous with stoppage time, and it really added to the product, to be fair. And it kind of led into on the other side of that, but then they kind of became a little bit more conservative again, I feel like, in the last season or two. But yeah, that set the tone to start sort of having a bit of fun with time added on, I suppose.
Yeah, because if your team's losing, even in the 86th, 87th minute, it used to be almost over. But now you're like, we've probably got at least 10 minutes of football.
There's another 10 minutes here.
At least. So it's kind of a different mindset now. These players have got to be fit. Yeah, I mean, Robbie, any thoughts on the goal?
I mean, yeah, ecstatic. I was, I jumped up and yelled at the TV and gave Adelaide fans the fingers. I apologise, Alice. And then my wife just kind of looked up from her phone and gave me a look and go, "What the hell are you doing?" And then just went back to her phone. And funnily enough, my mate, who I was messaging at the same time back in New Zealand, was doing the same thing. He said when they scored the first goal, the VAR non-call, he kicked the couch. His wife looked up from what she was doing and just gave him a look and shook her head and then went back to it. So, I think that's probably the one thing that exactly, they don't get it. They don't get it. That's probably the one thing that Carl Viet's going to be very disappointed with, was just the manner in which they conceded that last dying seconds. I think they'd felt they'd done enough and probably should have in the end. but I think it was all night. There was just something about the I guess the frailty from crosses from set pieces out wide. There was always that hint of danger throughout the whole match. I think Mata had a couple of good headers, and when you got someone dangerous as De Vries on a set piece, it's going to be on a dime. And Rogerson did what he did, puts it in the back of the net. So, yeah, ultimately happy we got a point. Like you said, Cooper's away. Any travelling team, it's one of the toughest trips to do. I know I did a bit of research before the game. Auckland teams, I think the only time that an Auckland team has won in Adelaide was the first match the Kings played against Adelaide Force back in 1999. So it's been 26 years nearly since an Auckland team has won in Adelaide. Wellington's record is 12 wins from, I think, 50 at Coopers. So it's a tough place to go. The fact that it's top of the table, to get a point, 110th minute equaliser, I'll happily take that because that's a valuable point in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, we're really chuffed with that point. I think been a great week for us actually. Well, let's think about moving forward now. So both of our teams are top of the league pretty much. How do we feel that Ellis? Tell me, how do you feel that Adelaide are going to go this season? Are you confident this is going to continue for your side?
I fear just following this team since the very beginning, I fear that they may well have peaked a little too early for my liking. I'm not convinced that Adelaide United has the depth to be able to continue playing the high-octane style that Carl Viet's been, demanding long into the season and into finals territory. I'm not sure that they'll be at their best when that time comes. There's every reason why it could continue, but historically, Adelaide United, when they've had their sort of stronger finishes, it's always been towards the end. It's been the marathon, not the sprint, and you just feel like this is going to burst eventually with the way that they're playing. Because, to be fair to them, I cannot put my finger on how they're able to back this up week in, week out with the strength of the squad. Because I look at the starting 11 and it doesn't look anywhere near as strong as some of those other sides that we sort of forecasted to be around the top 6 this season. So you have to wonder, is a bit of a Leicester City or a Nottingham Forest at the moment that we're seeing in Adelaide, because we've had much stronger sides than this in the past. But long may it continue, from my perspective, obviously.
Absolutely. And Ellis, what about what? Go on, Matthew.
I actually think they're really good value. I thought they were really good value for them. I know they were 2-1 up and they drew 2-2, but I was actually quite interested. I actually thought they looked a really good team. I think they're more, maybe you said about the players, maybe they're more than the sum of their parts, when they're all put together, individually, maybe man for man, but as a team, I think they're really good value. I think Adelaide were probably the team that I've been impressed by the most since I've been watching all the live games that Auckland have played. Yeah, I thought, and I always talk on this show. I've always said that no team seems to have anybody that when they get a chance, they put the ball away. And I know we've talked about the VAR decision, but he had still plenty to do. The ball went through Heineke's legs, I think. So that was a bit of a distraction. He had no idea that ball was going to come to him. And not many people beat Alex Paulson one-on-one. I've noticed that Paulson is really good at that one-on-one. When people go through, he's a really good shot stopper, and he did him in twice. And he had plenty to do for the second goal as well. So Adelaide have got someone up front that gets a chance, puts it away. Yeah, I think they're really good value. I think they'll sustain it. I can't see unless they get that injury.
And the other thing to add to that as well is the work that they've done with the young players in their academy is, I think, second to none in the A-League. They've got an amazing area catchment of talent that they're not afraid to promote when they feel they're ready. They might be 16, 17, but they're given a chance, and those players are good enough to make that step up into the professional ranks. And
I'm going to have to bring you up
to Adelaide what they do.
Just
go do it.
A lot of people don't know the lay of the land in South Australia, but Adelaide United doesn't have an academy. So the way it works is that we've got what's called the Football South Australia team, and that's basically the federation that runs an academy. So we've got the NPL, obviously, that we're a part of in SA, but then once you're sort of at that 16 to 18 age bracket, you'll go in and play for the NTC, which is what they call the national something, I've forgotten. But basically, Adelaide United are huge beneficiaries of the fact that they don't have to pay or bet in any infrastructure as far as an academy goes, and the best talent just gets developed.
Yeah, right.
We put on their doorstep, as opposed to the majority of the other Eastern States clubs that all have to fund their own academies. Now, Adelaide United will no longer be the fruits of all that work that gets done soon, and they'll have to set up their own academy. And Adelaide United are not, resource rich, so they will be tested strongly.
Interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of people in
that's fascinating.
A lot of people in the East think that there's some sort of super academy going on, but that's not the case at all. Basically, if you're the best talent going around in SA, you will inevitably play for Adelaide United. So that's not going to be the case in a couple of years. My understanding is Adelaide United will have to fork out money for an academy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the production, and then
Okay, yeah,
good to know.
There
you go. Learn something new every day.
You do. It's brought to you by a Nice Job Report. Ellis, what do you think of Auckland's chance? What do you think of Auckland's chances? Like, I don't know if you've seen much of us in any of the other games.
That's a good question.
No, certainly. Honestly, at the start of the season, I wasn't too hot on Adelaide United, and I probably found myself watching more Auckland games, just more of a social kind of like, was more busier when Adelaide were playing. But because I think the time really suits me to watch Auckland, because Saturday nights, all that kind of jazz. So I love the old 3 p.m. I think is usually the time we get a Saturday game. So
it will be for you guys watching Auckland. Yeah, because we're 5 over here.
I love it. Yeah. So, I'm not the biggest Steve Corica fan, but you can't knock the guy, certainly as far as his record goes with regards to silverware. And I think he's a very good pragmatic manager. I haven't enjoyed watching his sort of Sydney FC teams over the years, but at this point in time, for you guys, you wouldn't care sort of what the style is. If you can stay in a pole position like second, then it's really going to be beneficial for you guys. And I really enjoyed the atmosphere as well. I think the ground that you're playing in, it's so suited to what you're offering up as a club right now. And atmospherically, you guys would be absolutely wrapped. The fact we now have a derby there as well is fantastic. And why can't Auckland go on and pretend, what Western Sydney should have done, or a club that's come in like Gold Coast to begin with, where they looked really, really good and they just ran out of legs towards the end of their first season. I think you guys have all the ingredients to go all the way, and particularly because I think it's kind of a weak league. Like Melbourne City are probably, probably considering everything at this point, but even they're not overly reliable. They've got Aurelia Vidmar, who used to manage us, who's very pragmatic, quite a conservative manager. He's made it work to an extent, but I don't think they're overly great on paper. Melbourne Victory, obviously, not really at the races this season. And, then you've got a lot of other clubs that aren't really hitting their straps this year. I think you guys are fantastic.
It's really wide open, hey?
I think you're the dark horse, absolutely, if not a favourite. So, yeah.
The commentators on the game actually made this point at the end and about the A-League. That the great thing about the A-League is how open it is, and that it's not a 1, 2, 3 teams that dominate this league every year like around the world. And I thought there's no reason why Auckland FC can't be the champions of this league this year at all. The way they play it. They just got to keep going, right? Like all of it, keep going.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Get out of your way, yourself.
Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap it up, but before we go every week, Alice, we normally do a little predictions, a little tipping round robin of the Auckland FC game, but maybe we'll do the Adelaide game as well. Who have Adelaide got at the weekend?
That's a good.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I've got it up here.
We've got the bite.
There you go.
That's why you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Well, don't worry about that then.
Right.
Western Sydney, Auckland playing Western Sydney Wanderers away. Wow. I mean, we've got that. This is the Mata Derby. It's the Mata
That's
right.
Derby. Finally, it's here.
Finally.
One
It's
Mata,
here.
Max Mata. Love it.
Two absolute colossus players of international of the world football.
Giants
Meets
of
at
the
first
game.
time. Yeah,
Giants
giants of the game. Yeah. Finally meet.
Although we
From
saw
Valencia
we
and
saw
Chelsea
on,
to what, Shrewsbury Town in Auckland.
Yeah.
We saw on socials today that Juan Mata has recommended playing in the A-League to Bruno Fernandes. Get down here, son, he says to his mate.
So random.
So random, mate.
That's very random.
It is very random.
Total clickbait, and I've been sucked in.
That's what it's for. It's what it does.
All right, we're Western Sydney away. Robbie, you go first. You probably know a little bit more about Western Sydney than the rest of us. How are we going to get on there?
Yeah, Wanderers is a bit of an enigma this season. They've kind of been stuttering. They've flattered to deceive at times. I think they're just outside the top 6 at the moment. They string. They're very frustrating to watch, and I can understand the frustration of Wanderers fans. They'll have a good performance, follow it up with a very average one. You really don't know which team's going to turn up, unfortunately. They've been fairly busy in the transfer market this first week. They've signed a couple of players. I think a couple of them will be in contention. I think Auckland's getting them at the right time, based on form and confidence. It depends on how the players pull up. I imagine they would have flown straight from Adelaide to Sydney because it makes no sense coming back to New Zealand before going out to Sydney. I think they're in slightly better shape. If Corrick is pretty smart about his rotations, it didn't seem like the legs were gone by the end of that game. Depends. We'll see what the lineup is on come Sunday, but I think they're in better position for this one, and I won't be as pessimistic, and I'll go Auckland win, maybe a 2 or 3-1. Wanderers coming off a loss as well, a pretty bad loss to the Mariners.
Yeah, the run continues, according to Robbie. Ellis, Western City Wanderers against Auckland this weekend.
Yeah, I get the feeling this season that it's been a case of the draw for Western City home so often. So I might have to go for a draw there, unfortunately, for you guys, even though your form suggests that you should probably be going there as the clear favourite. I think we've got a draw in store.
Draw. All right. The curse, Matt. What do you reckon?
Yeah. I'm not getting that feeling like I had last week. I'm not. I haven't got it. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it's supposed to feel like. But I haven't got that feeling like I.
Oh dear.
It felt good last week, and I just don't think me and Robbie can be on the same. We can't be on the same wavelength. It's just not meant to be. If he's optimistic, then I have just got to be pessimistic. I have got to be at the other end. So
you have to be grounded.
I have to be. I'm gonna have to pull you down on this one. I'm thinking a draw. I was thinking actually a ball 0-0, to be honest.
Really?
I think I'd take it. I really would. I think a point. I think back-to-back away games, particularly that quick turnaround. I think if Auckland walk away without a loss in those 2 games, then I think they've done pretty well there anyway. So 0-0, 1-1. Something like that. Yeah.
I'm the opposite. Every time I see Western Sydney Wanderers come up, there seems to be a lot of goals in the game. So I'm hanging out for the first 4-3. I think 4-3 Auckland. We'll win it. Another Guillermo Mai goal. You know.
Yeah.
Liam Gillian comes off the bench, scores a goal. There we go.
We're hoping, aren't we?
We're hoping.
Yeah.
It'll happen. All right. Ellis, thank you very much for joining us, mate.
Thanks for the invitation. I will make one last little point before I go. I think it's vitally important that the momentum is sustained going into next season for Auckland. I think one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you've got a situation where Adelaide United and Perth Glory get a Phoenix and Auckland game back-to-back in New Zealand to incentivise those sets of supporters to go to New Zealand. I think you're going to get your Sydney, your Victory fans, your Raw fans. They're far more likely to go on a one-off sort of occasion to go watch one of their sides play
This
against
is 3
Auckland.
hours. 3 hours across the ditch. It's not too bad, Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
so
good idea.
I think the A-League needs to do something to line up a situation where I can go to Auckland and Wellington within 5 days and watch my team, and then you make sure that you're getting that momentum being sustained that Auckland have done
And
so well to create.
more tourists as well. New Zealand Tourism Board should be listening to this. That's a great
That,
idea.
that makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah. See a bit of
Yeah.
NZ while you're here. That's a great
Yeah.
point, Ellis. We will try and
Yeah.
we'll try and push that as an idea.
Yeah.
Please do.
Cheers
Oh,
for
he's
having
back.
you on, mate. Oh, he's back. Robbie did
He's back.
disappear for the Spotify listeners, but he's back.
My computer ran out of battery.
Oh dear.
You're all good.
Yeah.
You're all good. It looks very summery over there in Sydney. It's
Yeah,
very
it does.
summery out there in the garden. Lovely.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Robbie, Ellis, and of course Mattinho Junior, our earlier guests for coming on. And everybody that's listened in, tuned in, watched. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Had plenty of people on the live chat tonight. One last from Woodward English. If they play that match in Matamata, the universe will collapse in on itself.
I like that.
Matamata derby in Matamata.
That made me laugh. I like that. Was very good.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Totally,
All right,
totally
we bid you good night and up the port for the weekend.
Yeah,
Go on,
up the
Good
port.
season, guys. All
Up
the
the
best.
port.
Yeah.
Cheers,
Cheers,
bud.
mate.
Thanks, Alice.
Thank you very
Cheers.
much. See you later.